In the name of God, in whom we live and move and have our being. Amen. Amen. Please be seated. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? Personally, every time I hear those words, I think about light bulbs. Yes, light bulbs. Now I know that probably sounds a little weird, but bear with me for a minute. Because this is a homily about expectations and about how sometimes what we think we're going to get isn't exactly what we end up with. So it's always a good idea to wait and see. I'm not really that well traveled for a person of my years, but I have had the pleasure and privilege of visiting the Holy Land, Israel and Palestine, twice. Once in 2009 and once about 10 years prior to that. The first time, in my naivete, I expected to find a beautiful, windswept, mystical place of unequaled beauty and grace and peace. A land filled with people who walked around starry-eyed and boundlessly joyful because of their proximity to the historical Jesus and the pan-historical creator of the universe. But instead, I found a light bulb. So now you need more information. The first time I traveled to the Holy Land, all of my crazy, sugar-coated, haloed misconceptions were summarily blown out of the water one by one. And one of the most traumatic upending of my expectations was during my first trip to Jesus' hometown, to the place where he grew up and began his public ministry, in Nazareth. Now, of course, I had some pretty romantic notions about Nazareth. I mean, who wouldn't? It's so central to the story of Jesus, to his life and ministry, to his family and friends, to who he was and what he did and what he said, to his life and his death and resurrection and ascension. Like, wow, Nazareth, you know? I did not know that in present-day reality, Nazareth is the largest Arab city in Israel, or in occupied Palestine, depending on your political point of view. As such, there's a lot of tension there, even and especially around sites of religious pilgrimage. And it's a big, bustling place filled with commerce, especially tourism and religious commerce. But not everyone gets to share the wealth. There are many poor people in many poor places, mostly among the Palestinian Arabs and Christians, who are the majority of the population in Nazareth. The first time I went there, my pilgrimage was led by a Franciscan friar from St. Anthony's Shrine in Boston, Father Stephen Doyle. And Father Steve was trying to do the right thing and make sure that our tourist dollars were going where they could do the most good on behalf of the poor and marginalized people of that place. So as we traveled around the country, we didn't always get to stay in the swankiest of places, as you might imagine. But for the most part, our accommodations were quite comfortable. And then we went to Nazareth. The hotel's lobbies and halls were not exactly gorgeous, so maybe that should have been a hint. But I was unprepared for the scene that met me as I pushed open the really stuck door of my room. It was small and dark and kind of dingy at best. Starkly, and I mean barely, furnished. And hanging right in the middle of a dirty, cracked ceiling, dangling from a scary-looking frayed electrical cord, there was a single, dim, bare light bulb. Can anything good come from Nazareth? Light bulb. See what I mean? Get the picture? Nazareth, light bulb, Nazareth. Can anything good come from Nazareth? I remember those words from Scripture came immediately to my mind at that time. And they come immediately back to my mind every single time I think about that crappy little hotel room in Nazareth. That one with the light bulb. So expectations, we all have them. Nathaniel must have had expectations as well. As a pious Jew, he must have had some pretty solid ideas and opinions about the Messiah, about who he would be, how he would come and when he would come, what he would do and say, maybe even what he should look like. But Jesus was from Nazareth. At that time, it was also occupied. I guess some things never really do change. But back then, it was occupied by Rome. And it was a little, rather poor, nondescript kind of place, far north of Jerusalem in the region of Galilee. And Jesus himself must surely have seemed like just one of many itinerant preachers who wandered around the countryside, gathering small groups of followers, talking theology and living poor, and living dangerously as well. Nathanael was a man of faith. He's described even by Jesus himself as a pious Jew, but he's also a cynic. He's a show me or I won't believe it kind of guy. And for all Nathanael knows, Jesus is just another religious fanatic, another misguided, wandering nut who thinks he's the Messiah, who fancies himself a holy man, and who will inevitably get in trouble with the political and religious authorities, right along with anyone who's silly enough to follow with him. And they would probably all end up dead in the end. But there had to be something about Nathanael that allowed him to be open, at least open enough, despite his cynicism, to look and listen and consider that there just might be, just maybe could be, a nugget of truth in what Philip excitedly said to him. He said, "We have found him about whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus, son of Joseph, from Nazareth." Can anything good come from Nazareth? And then Philip said the magic words, "Come and see. Come and see. Come and see so you can see what we see. Come and see so you can see for yourself. Come and see so you can believe. We have found the Messiah, the one who was sent by God. Come and see." And amazingly, Nathanael does. He goes. And when he meets Jesus, they have this really weird conversation that personally I've never really understood. Something about a fig tree. Scholars think that maybe being under a fig tree was a metaphor for either praying or studying the Torah, or both. But whatever it was, Nathanael's reaction seems pretty bizarre. Jesus simply says, "I saw you under the fig tree before Philip called you," and Nathanael is sold, big time. "Rabbi, you're the Son of God. You're the King of Israel." Wait, because of a fig tree? Seriously? And even Jesus says, "Do you believe because I told you about the fig tree? You'll see greater things than that. You'll see heaven open up." Heaven. And all that started with a fig tree. I don't really get it. But you know what I think? I think it could be that the fig tree was kind of like the light bulb. I think the fig tree was for Nathanael what the light bulb was for me. We all have things about ourselves that no one knows but us. Deep things, secret things, sometimes even dark and mysterious things. We all have things about ourselves that no one could possibly know but us and God. So if someone told me my story about the light bulb, which I've never particularly told anyone, then I would definitely think that person had some kind of special connection to me or to God or to both of us. Maybe the fig tree was something that only Nathanael and God could possibly know about, So much so that Nathanael automatically knew that Jesus had some kind of special connection to him, to God, and to both. We all have things about ourselves that no one knows but us and God. And no matter what those things are, even if they're very dark and mysterious indeed, God can use them to knock down our walls and blow away our expectations and draw us into relationship with God. We might even see heaven open up. If, like Nathanael, we would only have the courage to accept the invitation to come and see. The invitation to personally experience our own relationship with God. You know those words that Philip said to Nathanael, come and see? Those are the exact same words that Jesus had just said to Andrew the day before. And then Andrew said them to Simon Peter. And then Jesus called Philip, and then Philip said them to Nathanael. Come and see. Come and experience your own relationship with God. Come and see so you can see what we see. Come and see for yourself. Come and see so you can believe. We have found the Messiah, the one who is sent by God. Come and see, and you will see heaven open up just for you. Come and see. See for yourself. So, can anything good come out of Nazareth? How about Brooklyn, or Boston, or the Bronx? How about Camden, or Trenton, or Atlantic City? How about anywhere else your expectations might be amazed by God? Can anything good come out of Nazareth? Yeah, you bet. Sure could.